All right, welcome back to another episode of Destroy the Evidence Book Club. This episode I'm going to review the LA Diaries by James Brown, which is his story of him basically trying to sell a screenplay to Hollywood set against his kind of very dysfunctional family environment and life. He's an English professor who is, marriage that's going downhill fast. He's got, he's addicted to cocaine. He's an alcoholic. He's comes from a family background where his mother and father both have struggles with alcohol, and his mother is crazy. So it's 12 chapters or essays that are kind of standalone, but they are all interconnected and they form a story overall. And this is probably one of the best books I've read about addiction or alcoholism or both, because he doesn't hold back. He's very candid, brutally honest about portraying himself. Some of the things he does are not pleasant, obviously. And yet, it's his honesty, it's that candor that that really gives the book an edge, that he's telling the truth. He's not trying to bullshit you. And so, he goes from talking about one of his earliest memories is his mother, when he was 6 years old, taking him with her when she sets fire to an apartment building. And an old lady ends up dying in that building. So just to give you an idea or a glimpse into it, I'll read you a passage. And, okay, where are we? Here we are. So he's just got out of a lecture where he was teaching on how to write. And here we go. I let the class go early and find an old bar on the edge of town, the kind I like best, where it's always dark inside and the air smells sour from the night before. Nobody knows you here and doesn't care to, and these are the people I'm most comfortable with. There are no judgments, and we share a common bond. I've earned my place beside them. The nausea subsides with my third shot of Kessler's, and soon the sweating and shaking stop. Those ants, though, they keep crawling because they want something else, something stronger that you can't find very easily in a small town like Vermilion, South Dakota. It's the meth, the speed. I ran out shortly after I arrived, and until now I don't think I realized just how badly I needed it, that I am strung out. The next day when I come to in my apartment, it starts all over again. The tremors, the fever. I know what will help, at least temporarily, but instead of reaching for the bottle, I wrap myself in a blanket and weather it out. I am sick of being sick. I am tired of living a lie, of waking up each morning and looking into the bathroom mirror at the bloodshot eyes and dark circles and thinking only of the next drink, the next line, the next fix, anything to make me better. Change or die, I tell myself. The fever breaks early the following morning, and they say the first 48 hours are the hardest, and I want to believe it's true, but I know they're only talking about the physical part of withdrawal. What's left when the shaking and nausea subside is far more insidious. It doesn't go away either, not ever. And that's the point I'm at, here and now, present time, looking back on that morning in South Dakota when the fever breaks and I bathe. I dress and then I take the rental car out onto the highway and drive. I just drive. The sun is rising and I'm alone on this road. Beyond the town, there's nothing but open field. The land is flat and dusted white with snow. A wind blows like the wind at sea, rippling where the yellowed grasses still cling to the earth, shining with frost. There's no obstruction but the sky, and the sky is big. The sky is limitless. Out here, there is no place to hide, and I park the car on the shoulder of the road. I get out and walk into the fields, and the wind pulls at me, and I feel it in my ears, a ringing, a burning cold. Snow off the yellowed grasses blows down the neck of my jacket and dampens my chest, and I look out across the fields, out across the sky, and in that vastness, as I close my eyes, I see my sons, Andy and Logan, Nate. I see their mother standing behind them. I see my own mother and father, and the woman who will one day become my second wife. And I see my brother-in-law. I see my niece. I see baby Catherine, and I hear her cry, the first gasp of life. I see my brother and sister too, and I see them clearly, and they're smiling at me. And the wind grows stronger, and I feel it cut into my skin. I feel it lifting me. I feel it carrying the three of us past the boundaries of our lives. And in our parting, when I open my eyes, and the land rolls up towards me, endless and distant, breaking like a surf across the sky, I see my own story come to rest at a moment of beginning. It's powerful, powerful stuff. And I think the thing about memoirs is all too easily they can turn into like these pity fests. And his doesn't. And he's got a million reasons for it to do that. And he just doesn't. He tells things very factually, very matter of fact, very objectively. And, and when I was, wanting to do this, I looked at some of other memoirs that are not good for a perspective, for comparison. And there's so many out there. You're spoilt for choice. One of them I found was this one by Robin McGraw. She's Dr. Phil's wife. And it's just awful stuff. Like, she's got nothing to say. And there's so many like that. I mean, she's talking about like, I'm on a mission to get you excited about your life, excited about being a woman in this day and time. My goal is to help you see your life as I see mine. And it's just nauseating. I think she used to be an actress. She married Dr. Phil, and then she got an eyebrow transplant. As much as I can tell, that's about as much life as she's lived. She's got nothing interesting to say, and there's so many memoirs and just bad books that should never have been published out there. And partly that whole industry has boomed since Amazon, the self-publishing thing on Amazon was Kindle direct publishing. So anyone really can now publish anything. And it made me think of, there's a film director, Victor Kosakovsky. He did Gunda, and he did Russia from My Window. And he said in an interview to a bunch of film students, he said, don't make a film, don't bother, unless it's going to be the best film that you're ever going to make. And so, that whole attitude of don't write a book, don't make a film, don't paint, don't create a piece of art unless it's really going to say something epic and meaningful. Don't do things by halves. And, so I like to try and relate these episodes to my military experience, and just, on a broader scale to people who've maybe had a few struggles in life. And, I think one of the things when you're in the military, you have this imposed discipline and this whole system, right? And then when you get out, you have to be your own self-disciplinarian. And I think that's where a lot of veterans struggle. I mean, the veteran suicide rate is quite huge. And I think that's part of the reason why you lose that structure. And unless you create your own structure to replace it, then you're kind of free-falling. And coupled with that, I mean, talking like about my own experience, we were exposed to drugs and alcohol in the military. I mean, we would go and Ranger Battalion, we'd have a few beers before we work out, have a few Rainiers, Pabst Blue Ribbon, whatever, and then go to the gym. That was breakfast, that would be how we start our day. And then you add into that mix things like a lot of the guys in Ranger Battalion were on steroids. So, that makes you more aggressive. They're trying to beef up. And then when you get out of the military, if you've done your job properly, you've probably got a few injuries, a few aches and sprains. I got out, I was on prescription morphine, prescription Percocet, and so you have this backdrop of, you have things available to numb the pain, things that are readily there, alcohol or drugs that can make you forget and feel better. And to find a reason not to do that is hard sometimes. You've got to, you know, set the bar high. When I was in Ranger Battalion, we had to start our days by reciting the Ranger Creed. And I just remember, like, the third stanza was the one I think that I think about a lot as a civilian. See if I can screw this up now. Never shall I fail my comrades. I'll always keep myself mentally alert, physically strong, and morally straight. And I will shoulder more than my share of the task, whatever it may be, 100% and then some. And the part about, you know, keeping yourself mentally alert and morally straight and physically strong, but, you know, you were doing that in the military, you know, for your buddies. And then when you get out, I think often people have, you know, like survivor guilt, or you're not, you don't have people to do that for anymore. You only have yourself. And if you have things like survivor guilt or PTSD or whatever it is, you may feel like you're not somebody who's worthy of setting, you know, taking care of yourself like that. And then you've got, you know, the drugs and the alcohol there kind of tempting you as well. And it gets a little bit, you know, you can go nosedive, you can self-destruct very easily. And when you're in that situation, I think reading about hard life experiences from people who've lived through them is really helpful. It helps know that somebody else has been through it and has maybe come out the other side, or is trying to come out the other side. And so that's why I think, like, you know, this book is really good. It's worth reading if you're struggling with things like that. So a couple other things I wanted to say about that. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about a little bit about, you know, like how to address it when you're on a bit of a self-destruct nosedive. And I think you have to find your reason. You have to find your reason to set the bar a little bit higher. And, you know, in this book, he's got, like, his first of all, his brother commits suicide. His brother, his sister, and he are all trying to break into Hollywood. His brother and his sister are aspiring actor and actress, and he's a screenwriter. And first of all, his brother commits suicide. Then, you know, he and his sister condole themselves about that, and then his sister commits suicide. And so, you know, he's got this, he's fighting this familial legacy of suicide and this history of drug addiction and alcoholism. And so he's got a lot of reasons to kind of go on a self-destruct. And you really feel that that tension is always lurking there in the background, and and yet he doesn't. And he really opens his heart to you. And I'm going to read this passage about when he's reflecting on his sister's death. So, the following morning, a passerby spots your body and phones the LAPD, and soon the patrol cars are on the scene. A police helicopter hovers overhead. The noise and commotion bring your husband out of the house. And because he's been looking for you, because you've been missing for 13 hours, he hurries to where the crowd is gathered. I find out that same night from Heidi, who, despite our bitter divorce, takes me into her arms as she delivers the news. Your sister killed herself. She's gone. I'm so sorry. Later, when your ashes are scattered at sea, I learned from your husband that you talked about taking your life for some time. Had I known, would it have mattered? Could I have made the difference? Marilyn, you know I would have tried. In the beginning, the alcohol and drugs bring you relief. They give you courage and confidence, and then slowly, over a period of years, they strip it all away, and you spend your final years struggling to fill the emptiness that's left inside you. It's futile, it's madness, and for you and our brother, there's only one way to end the pain. And this is the choice you make. I have no right to judge what you're capable of enduring, but in my dreams, I'm standing beside you on that rail of the overpass, above the LA River, and I reach for your hand, and you look at me and smile. Don't worry, you say. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. Then you squeeze my hand and let go, and I watch you fall, again and again, as I will for the rest of my life. There's no more pain, no impact. In my dreams, you're suspended in midair, the wind rushing up around you, captured in the moment of flight. So it's really bare in his heart. It's a good book. Read it.
Slashed her tires and has made threatening comments to her. She's concerned he might return.
Forgive us